Magic, white and black, the science of finite and infinite life. There is nothing more productive of a tendency to the development of an extreme degree of selfishness than the development of a high degree of intellectuality without any accompanying growth of spirituality. Whoever doubts this assertion, let him observe the petty jealousies everywhere prevailing among the learned professions. Moreover, a high degree of intellectuality enables a person to take personal advantages over others who are less learned, and unless he possesses great moral powers, he may not be able to resist the temptations that are put in his way. The greatest villains and criminals have been persons of great intellectual qualifications. A development of the intellect is necessary to understand spiritual truths after they are once perceived, but they cannot be perceived by the intellect without spirituality. They can only be perceived by the power of the Spirit. The development of spiritual powers of perception is therefore of supreme importance. That of the intellect comes next. Blessed is he whom the truth teaches, not by perishable emblems and words, but by its own inherent power, not what it appears to be, but as it is. The love of power and fame are other illusions. True power is an attribute of the Spirit. If I am obeyed because I am rich, it is not myself who commands obedience, but my riches. If I am called powerful because I enjoy authority, it is not myself who is powerful, but it is the authority vested in me. Riches and authority are halos thrown around men, which often vanish as quickly as they have been acquired. Fame is often enjoyed by him who does not deserve it, and the most honored man is he who has cause to respect himself on account of his acts. Place of birth and condition of life are circumstances which are usually not matters of choice, and no one has a right to despise another on account of his nationality, religious belief, color of skin, or the act he may play on this planet. Conditions are illusions caused by the consequences of other illusions. They do not belong to the essential character of man. Whether an actor plays the part of a king or a servant, the actor is therefore not despised, provided he plays his part well. There are other illusions which come without being asked and remain, although their stay is not wanted. They are the unwelcome visitors, fear, doubt, and remorse, and they, like all other illusions, are caused by ignorance of the true nature of man and the extent of his powers. Men sometimes live in fear of a revengeful power which has no existence, and may die from fear of an evil that does not exist. They are often afraid of the effects of causes which they, nevertheless, continue to create. They may doubt whether they will succeed in cheating the law, not knowing that the real man is himself the law and cannot be cheated. Every act creates a cause, and the cause is followed by an effect which reacts on him who created the cause, whether he may experience that effect in this life or in another. To escape the effect of the cause which has been created, he who created the cause must try to transform himself into another man. If his lower principles have led him into mistakes, they will suffer. But if he succeeds in assimilating his nature with his higher principles and thereby changes himself into a being of a different character, their suffering will not be of the greatest importance to him. Such is the only rational philosophy of the forgiveness of sins, and priests could forgive sins if they were able to change the sinner into a saint. This can, however, only be done by the individual exertions of the sinner, who may be instructed by one who is wise. To become sufficiently wise to instruct another about the laws or his nature, it is of the utmost importance that the instructor should know these laws and be acquainted with the true constitution of man. Reason is the saviour of man. Ignorance is his death, and unreason his suffering. Reason is the power of the mind to recognize the truth, and in the light of truth the shadows of doubt and fear and remorse cannot exist. Illusions are dispersed by reason through the power of will. When the will is held in abeyance, the imagination is rendered passive, and the mind takes in the reflections of pictures stored up in the astral light without choice or discrimination. When reason does not guide the imagination, the mind creates disorderly fancies and hallucinations. The passive seer dreams while awake, and may mistake his dreams for realities, but his dreams may be his own creations, or they may be impressions caused by floating ideas taking possession of the unresisting mind. And according to the source from which such impressions come, they may be either true or false. Various means have been adopted to suspend the discriminating power of will and render the imagination abnormally passive. And all such practices are injurious in proportion as they are efficacious. The ancient Pythoness attempted to heighten her already abnormal receptivity by the inhalation of noxious vapors. Savage and semi-civilized people sometimes use poisons or whirl in a dance until the action of reason is temporarily suspended. Others use opium, Indian hemp, and other narcotics which not only suspend their will and render their mind a blank, but which also excite the brain and induce morbid fancies and illusions. Fortune tellers and clairvoyants employ various means to fix their attention, to suspend thought and render their minds passive, and the images which they receive may be true or false. Others stare at mirrors or crystals, water or ink, but the adept, while not forsaking the use of his reason, renders his imagination passive by maintaining, under all circumstances, a serene tranquility of the mind. The surface of a lake whose water is in motion reflects only distorted reproductions of images projected upon it, and if the elements in the interior world are in a state of confusion. If emotion fights with emotion and the uproar of the passions troubles the mind, if the heaven of the soul is clouded by prejudices, darkened by ignorance, hallucinated by insane desires, the true images of things seen will be equally distorted. The divine principle in man remains in itself unaltered and undisturbed, like the image of a star reflected in water. But unless its dwelling is rendered clear and transparent, it cannot send its rays through the surrounding walls. The more the emotions rage, the more will the mind become disturbed and the spirit be forced to retreat into its interior prison. Or if it loses entirely its hold over the mind, it may be driven away by the forces which it cannot control, burst the door of its dungeon, return to the source from whence it came, and leave man behind as a living corpse, a maniac, in which the spiritual principle is entirely inactive.